nothing more embarrassing than being in an interview and realizing I'm going to poop my pants. If I don't get to a bathroom, I might poop my pants. The interview is going great, right? It's going great. All of a sudden, we're sitting there, we're having chit chat, and I'm like, I have bubble guts. I don't know what happened. It was probably the prosciutto and melon that I ate before I came here. Also, the olive tapenade. Why I decided that was a great lunch before an interview, I have no idea, but it sounded delicious, so I ate it. So I get to the interview, and I am bubble gutting hard. Then she's like, we're going to go across the street, and I'm going to show you the other half of our operation. I'm like, cool. Trying to breathe through it, I'm adjusting. All of a sudden I start sweating. I am straight sweating. I'm putting my hair up, and she's probably thinking it's not that hot in here, but she is turning red. She is sweating. I am, no joke, dripping sweat down the sides. We go to the other side, and finally my stomach settles a little bit. I'm like, that's cool. Then we're standing. She's showing me the other side of the operation. She's like, oh, do you want anything to drink? Like, do you want a coffee? And I was like, yeah, I'm cool now. I'll have a coffee. Drink a coffee. Bad decision. Horrible decision. Instantly, again, I'm like, oh, it's on. My stomach and we are fighting a war that I do not want to fight. And I think it's going to win. So I let out a little fart. Just a little one. Just to test the waters. And instantly I'm like, was that just a fart? Or was that something more? I don't know. I can't tell. I'm shifting back and forth. I'm going one leg, hands in pockets, hands in back pockets, trying to figure out what to do. Put my hair down. I put it back up. I'm like this. I have no ponytail, so I'm just trying to do whatever I can. Eventually, she's like, okay, let's get going. I start walking, and I'm like, if I poop my pants, there's probably a mark. There's a mark. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my purse. Behind my butt just in case. We get to the other side, and she's like, oh, okay, so I just want to talk to you a little bit more and show you this side of the operation. I'm like, great. Do you have a restroom? She goes, oh, yeah, but I'm like, don't you butt me, woman. Don't you butt me, pun intended. And she goes, it just might be a little bit dirty. I'm like, that's totally fine. I know I dressed up, but I'm actually super cool. I camp. I get dirty. It's fine. I just need to use the restroom. I'm so sorry about this. Go into the bathroom. It gets worse. Go into the bathroom. There's no fan. And she's standing outside the door, and she can hear everything. So I obviously have to do the double flush, which is already embarrassing. I'm like, obviously she knows what I'm doing. Then I have to spray. Luckily, there was spray. Then I have to spray the entire bathroom, and then I get out, and she goes, hi, so, yeah, this is also who you're going to be working with, and I get to be introduced to another person who also just heard me double flush. Moral of the story is, if you are going to have an interview, maybe almost poop your pants, because I got the job.
I'm going to share a really vulnerable moment with y'all, probably the most embarrassing moment of my life, but I was 18 years old, and I had been in college for 2 weeks on a softball scholarship when my assistant coach called me, and she said, hey, tomorrow I'm going to church. I just want to know if you'd like to join me. Well, I thought, I'll go to church with you, because I'm thinking I'm going to be a starter this year, right? And, my family, we love Jesus, but we didn't really go to church because we couldn't get our asses out of bed in the morning, We did make that a priority on Easter and Christmas, right? Or with the rest of the town. But I was real confused because I thought, is this a test? Is she trying to see if I'm going to love the Lord to be able to play? That's how my brain operated, right? That was probably not her intention at all, but I was going to pass the test. So I show up the next day at church. I got my church clothes on, and we get in there, and the priest, he's got a gown on. And I thought, well, that's a little funky. My preacher always wore blue jeans and a button-up, but a gown works too. Well, a few minutes into it, they started going up and down, up and down, up and down. And they were singing these chanty things that were very ritual-like. It's like they had practiced them in the after hours. Now, we didn't do any of that in my church. The most we ever did in our church was a, can I get a amen? And that was all that, Bob and Betty Sue in the back had practiced all week long was, how strong can I get my amen? Well, church was over. At least I thought. And then my coach said, hey, Danae, we're going to go get in a single file line, and we're going to go do this now. And in my head, I'm like, what are we doing? I'm like, because at this point I figured out this was a Catholic church. So I was like, are we going to confessional? Because I just kissed a girl last week. Oh, God. And then she was like, just do what I do. And I was like, what is she talking about? Well, I get in the single file line and I happen to look over to my right and I see Coach Nick Saban from the Alabama football team. And I was like, and I'm enamored with him and I'm looking at him like, damn, he is short in real life. Holy shit. And I was like, wait, you can't say that today. You're in Catholic church right now. You're about to have to go to confessional. So before I realized it, I was at the front of the line. My coach already made a hard peel to the left and I was at the front of the line and I was looking at the priest and I went, hi. And he goes, hi. And I was like, are you going to bring out some barbecue and some creamed corn? Is this a potluck? We always got in line for the potluck. And then he just looked at me and he went and hit me on my forehead. And he said, you are blessed. I didn't know what to do. So I just went, so are you. I took a little glance over to the right to see if Nick Saban had been watching. And thank God he had his back turned. But the priest just looked at me. And I swear on my life, the priest looked at me and he goes, you're new, aren't you? And I was like, was it a dead giveaway?
I cheated on my boyfriend with his best friend and now I'm dealing with a psycho baby mom. Story time. I'm not normally one for calling girls psychos, especially baby moms, but this one is wild. This story literally starts out with, so this is a juicy one. I started talking to this guy who was my best friend's boyfriend's best friend. So it was only about 2 months that we were talking. One night he invites us round, we're all having drinks, my best friend is there, and I meet the most beautiful man ever. We'll call him Steve. So obviously I'd been invited as this other guy's girl, but I spent most of the evening talking to Steve. Oopsie. At the end of the night, I followed Steve on everything and removed the other boy off everything. And I haven't spoke to him since. About 2 weeks later, I'm scrolling through Tinder and who comes up? Steve! And of course we match. I mean, look at me. 3 months into chatting, we make it official and things are going so well. One night, Steve just started completely ghosting me. I later found out it's because his nan passed away, but he then didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. In this 3-week period, Steve did actually have quite a bit going on. His uncle had had a stroke, his nan had died, but this is where it gets juicy. Steve has an ex who he had a baby with. I found out that Steve had been baby trapped by his ex-girlfriend, who we will call Amy. I don't know why I whispered it. Can't hear me. I hope not anyway. Amy was close to his entire family, but mostly his aunt and the uncle that had the stroke. Amy found out that Steve's uncle was in hospital and she decided to take advantage of this. Knew I'd forget to blend this out. Amy literally waited till the day she was ovulating to sex Steve. That's hard to say. And it just so happened that Steve had been out this night. He was really drunk, out with his mates. Amy invites Steve round and that is how babies are made, kids. A few weeks later, Amy texts Steve with that I'm pregnant. That's it. And she has been blackmailing Steve ever since. But Steve doesn't want a single thing to do with her. He was also really confused as to how she had actually got pregnant because they used protection. A fit of rage when they were arguing about this, Amy admitted to poking holes in their protection so she could make sure that she actually got pregnant. So we have this 3-week dry spell. Steve comes back and bless him, he tells me everything. He is very, very upfront and honest. But ever since this day, there has been no progression on our relationship. Amy constantly tries to call me, she tries to text me, pushing me out of his life. I am so in love with Steve, but I can't be bothered with this whole situation. So what do you think I should do here?
I need y'all's help with the guy. So this all starts last week, the first week of school, when he was talking to my best friend. But wait, just let me explain. So basically, I saw him on the first day of school and I was like, oh my gosh, like he's really attractive, right? And so I was already thinking about him. And then my friend starts telling me about this guy she like met and that walked her to class and all this stuff. And I was like, she started driving him and I'm like, wait, that kind of sounds like, but I was like, no freaking way this is true. Like this school is massive. There's no way that, you know, it's the same guy. But then he walks up to us and I'm like, and so I still think he's attractive, but obviously right away I'm like, okay, no, like I cannot do this, like never mind. Because like I'm not going to do that to my best friend. And so like, I'm like super supportive of them. I'm taking pictures of them, all that stuff. You know, the volleyball game that we were going to, and I was like, my friend's going with her man. Yeah, that's him. And like, I promise you after this, I was like, no, I can't like him. And so I'm rooting for them the first day, but then a couple of days, like the next day, she's like saying how she doesn't know if she wants him. And like, she's like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know if I like him and stuff like that. And so like, I'm like, do you like him or not? But, you know, it's very normal not to be able to decide. So like, I don't push her or whatever. So like a couple days like go by. It's like 4 days now. And like every day she keeps telling me, because we go to this place after school and we like walk around and talk. And she keeps telling me like, I don't know if I like him or not. Like, I don't think I want a relationship. Like, I think I like him. I think I don't. Like, I don't know. And I keep telling her to decide. And I promise y'all, like, I wasn't telling her to decide because I wanted him. Like, I originally wasn't gonna, you know, go for him at all, because, like, that's hers. But I was just telling her to decide, because, like, I knew him too, and he's, like, a really good guy, so I was like, I kind of feel bad for him. Like, I don't want him to just, you know, get led on, and, like, so I just felt bad, because, like, I didn't want her to lead him on and stuff. But, like, I swear I would have done that to any guy, like, no matter if I thought he was hot or not, or, like, liked him or not, or whatever. What the heck? And so she keeps saying, like, I don't know if I like him or not, like, stuff like that. And finally, she decides that she didn't like him. And so I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like, I could have, you know, talked to him. But obviously now that chance is over, because, like, he's talked to my best friend. Like, I can't do that. I put too much on, ignore that. And so, like, then she finally decides she doesn't want him. And she's, like, telling me, she's like, I want to tell him so that he feels free to, like, talk to other girls. And she was kind of, like, talking, and she was saying, like, he could talk to anyone. I just don't want him to feel limited. Like, he could talk to you if he wanted to. And so she said that, and I was like, wait. And so I don't know. I didn't know how to take it, but I was like, wait, would you actually care if he talked to me? And she was like, no, like, I don't care. I didn't like him. Like, and so then I kind of told her, I was like, I, like, liked him, or I thought he was, like, really cute last week and stuff. And we're, like, super close, right? So, like, we can tell each other these things without getting, like, obviously while they're talking, I'm not going to tell her that, but after, she would not care. And so I was telling her, I was like, I kind of, like, I didn't like him, but I thought he was cute. And, like, now getting to him, I like his personality. And so I was telling her that, and she was like, yes, bro, like, literally talk to him. Like, I don't care. And she was like, do you want me to talk to him for you and tell him to, like, talk to you? And at first I was like, no, because I hate trying to get guys to like me. Like, I just want them to want me, like, out of nowhere. Like, I don't want to have to force them, right? And so at first I was like, But then she was gonna go talk to him anyways and be like, you know, I don't want you, or I don't want a relationship. Like, she had already told him once, but she was gonna go talk to him again and, like, make it clear that, like, he could talk to any girl, like, he could talk to me, whatever. And so she goes and says that. But then they're talking for so long, and I had already told her, like, they're like, I don't know. So they were talking for so long, and they come up to me, and so, but this was at the end of the school day, and so by the time they get to me, they're like, I have to go already, because, like, my whatever, someone was here, or, like, my mom was here to pick me up or whatever, and so I had to go, and so, like, she couldn't tell me what they said. I couldn't talk to them at all. Ignore how I look. I just got back from a bike ride. Whoa. A bike ride, and then this is from water, so ignore that. Also, I'm not gonna get ready because there's no point. Anywho, so that day, after, like, they had that conversation, he, like, messaged me on Instagram, and he was like, can I get your number? And I was like, why? Because I was like, heck no, like, I don't know. And then he was like, I don't know, I just want to, like, talk to you about something or something. And I was like, okay. And I gave him my number, and then he was texting me about his and, like, my friend's conversation. And then I was like, okay, like, what's the point of telling me this? Because it was just all like, stuff I already knew. Like, he was saying how she told him that she didn't want a relationship, but, like, she was like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, why are you telling me this? Like, I already know. Because, like, at that point, I'm just like, I like this kid, but I can't talk to him. I don't want to talk to him right now. And so then he was like, wait, can we FaceTime? And I was like, okay. And so I FaceTime him. And then he's like, so your friend told me that, that you like me. And I was like, what? Because I told my friend not to tell him that. Because you know how I hate, like, begging for a guy. Like, I want him to like me. And so, anywho, so I was like, what? Why would she tell you that? But, like, I don't care, because, you know, like, my best friend's smart. She's not going to do something stupid. Like, she knows what she's doing. So I was like, okay, she must have something, like, planned. Like, she knows what she's doing if she tells him that. So I just went along with that. I was like, yeah, like, I did last week. But then you started talking to her. So I was like, okay, no. And he was like, yeah, but, like, she never even liked me. So, like, what? Like, I don't know. And then at first I was just like, I hate it. Because, like, this is where I need help. So basically, he likes me now, right? But I just feel like, first of all, I feel like that he only likes me because he couldn't have her. Which I could totally see that, like, being true, because she's freaking stunning. Like, I'm not saying that's why I'm mad. I'm just saying I want a guy to just like me. And, like, I don't know. It was just all weird how it came about. But and also, something else that annoys me is that, like, he'll do things. Like, today he, like, asked for my schedule. And then I'll, like, I don't know, that's sweet and stuff because he wants to walk me into my classes. But that's literally the exact same thing he said to my best friend. So I'm just like, this is, like, giving me deja vu. But last time I heard this, it was on the other end when you liked my best friend. And so, like, I'm just getting a very weird feeling about all this. Like, I know it's not, like, I don't know how to explain it, y'all. I bet you there's gonna be someone out there that's like, you shouldn't go, like, girl code, whatever. But it gets to a point where you're so close that, like, you make your own girl code, right? It's like, if she didn't want me to get with him, I literally asked her a million times. I was like, bro, are you sure you're okay with this? Like, do you care? And she's like, no, like, I literally don't care. I want him to talk to someone else, right? And so, I don't know. Like, I asked her, like, I thought it was weird. Wasn't going to say anything, but she was the one who told him that I liked him. But, like, I mean, I don't care anymore. But anyways, so yeah, like, back to the story, like, to the storyline. Like, we were on that FaceTime, and then, like, he said that he, like, I don't know. Like, he kind of implied that he wanted me. And in the moment, I was like, I don't know. It's just so confusing, because it's good that he said that, but then, like, then again, he could also only want me because he couldn't have her. But he also has told me that, like, no hate against her, but, like, he was like, he felt like it didn't click either. Because, like, my friend's whole thing is, like, she thinks he's attractive and, like, he has a good personality. They just didn't click. Like, she just didn't feel it with him. Because she hasn't had her first relationship yet. So she's like, I thought, like, whenever I would have my first boyfriend, like, it would just click. And she was like, I just didn't feel that with him. So I didn't want, like, anything. And so I don't know. It's very confusing. And so he was just saying that he felt the same way. He was like, yeah, like, she's really pretty, good personality. We just didn't click. So, like, I don't know. Maybe he didn't like her. So yeah, for the last couple days, we've just been like, I haven't said explicitly I like him. I literally told him, like, I said, I liked you last week and I don't like you anymore. And then and I was like, it's just weird. He was like, okay, then let's keep talking until it's not weird. And so I guess we're not, like, he meant, like, let's keep, like, talking as friends. So now he just, like, walks me to my class, and he's so sweet. That's the problem. Like, today, it was so sweet. So after school, we were, like, standing together, and I was staying with him because my best friend had already left. And then Mom was taking forever to come because she had to, like, do something with my brothers. And then I was like, oh, when are your parents coming? And then he was like, oh, I'm just going to call them. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, I wanted to stay with you. I was like, oh, but, like, it's just so weird. And, like, another thing that, so my best friend walked by us today, and we were walking together, and then after, I was, like, talking about how it's just kind of weird because of that schedule thing. I was like, he asked the same thing to you, so it's kind of weird. And she was like, yeah, I know. And, like, whenever I walked by and he did, like, that arm thing to you, he did that to me, too. And she's not saying it's weird. She was just, like, agreeing with me that, like, he does the same things to me that he did to her. Even though it was only 4 days, it's still just a little bit weird. So my whole, like, I just don't know what to do. I guess I'm not even asking y'all for advice because, like, I mean, I guess I'll take advice, but there's no really advice. It's just, like, my decision. There's no advice that can be given. I know the only advice I'm going to hear is, like, you shouldn't go for your best friend's man, but she didn't even like him, and they were literally talking for 4 days, but they didn't even like each other. So, low-key, I'm just going to delete any comment that says, you shouldn't go for your, because, like, she literally don't even gave me permission. She was the one, I wasn't going to go, I literally didn't like him, and then she told me she told him that I liked him, and then that whole thing happened.
I ruined my entire high school career at the ripe age of 13. So it all started in 8th grade, and I wanted to go to a high school Friday Night Lights football game. I had very little friends at this point, and I really was trying to make some because I was just really lonely. And so, yeah. When I got to this football game that night, I had seen one of my very few friends there, and she also had a friend, and she was a year younger than us, and she was actually really nice. And for the most part, in the beginning, before the game, like, even really started, I was having, like, a lot of fun, you know, like, with my friends. Like, I was just trying to make new friends. So we fast forward, and we get to walking around, you know, everything's good, the sun's gone away, and everything's great, and these freshman boys had came up to us, and I had no idea what was going on around me because all I could think about was this one boy was asking for my number. And a little bit after that encounter, my friend that I had known was like, oh, I need to cool off, like, I need to go to the bathroom or whatever, and she told me and the friend that she brought, the one that I didn't know, to just go sit down or whatever, like that, you know. And I was confused, but I just let her go because she was feeling overwhelmed. Okay, so yeah, and that boy had texted me right after and was like, hey, you should come sit with me and my friends. And as a little 8th grade girl, hungry for attention, I wanted to. So I told the girl, like, hey, let's go, I want to go sit with them, is that okay? And she was like, yeah. And so I didn't see anything wrong with it because she told me that it was fine, right? Then we get to the top of the stairs, and she's like, oh, actually, I need to go call my mom. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll be sitting right here, and I pointed to where it was, and she said, okay, I'll be back. She, in fact, did not come back for over an hour, and that whole time I was sitting with that boy and all his friends. I was just looking around so frantically, and I didn't know what to do because I don't know her or anything like that, and so I assumed that my friend had just met up with her and they went and, or something else happened. Like, I don't even know, you know? And then my friend proceeds to come back, like, stomping down the stairs and tell me, like, oh, I abandoned her friend, and screamed all kinds of mean things in my face that I can't say, and just stormed away. And that was the last I heard of her until fast forward to October, and a girl that I was really, really trying to be friends with was having a Halloween party, and do not ever ask to be invited to something if you were never invited in the first place. That's all I have to say. Now, she was having a Halloween party that I kind of invited myself to. I asked her about it, and I asked if I could go, and I went. So I get to this party, and I see that it's guy girl, and I go into the room that everybody's hanging out in, and I'm, like, asking questions like, oh, blah, blah, do you play baseball? Oh, blah, 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 do you do this? And they were, like, so sarcastic to me, like, duh, like, obviously, like, and it just kind of hurt my feelings because I was just trying to be their friend. And then I was just really desperate to, like, get their attention, you know, be their friend. And so I tell them that story that I just told you, except I super, super exaggerated it and made fun of the girl that I didn't know. Like, I made fun of her, and then, like, the evening got, like, really silent after that. Everyone just kept laughing at me, and just whispering and making eyes at me, and I had no idea why, and I just kept asking, and nobody would tell me, and it was so horrible. And then there was one boy that was there that was showing me, like, text messages between him and a different guy that I had liked, calling me, like, horrible names and saying I was ugly and stuff like that. And that really made me cry and put me on the edge. Anyways, so I figured out that the reason why I went silent, everybody was making fun of me, was the fact that the girl that I made fun of, her brother was there, and I just trash talked her to her brother. And to this day, nobody likes me at school. Well, it's not nobody, but a lot of people don't like me at school, and yeah. Don't make fun of people, don't be desperate, and be kind and be yourself, because real friends will come along, and you do not need attention from people who do not deserve it.
Just sitting here during cocktail hour wondering what's the worst date I've ever been on. I had the audacity to think to myself, I don't know if I've ever been on like a horrible date. And then quite quickly I humbled myself and thought, yes, you have. You went on the worst date ever. Wait, actually there's two. Okay, I'm just gonna tell one. So I'm 25, my boyfriend just dumped me. I'm at like an underground bar, like art installation DJ. I used to be hip, indie, whatever, and there's a guy there and he's like cute. He looks like Post Malone. Like Post Malone without the face tattoos. Anyway, we start talking and whatever, back and forth. His name's like Travis or something, like very like, bleh. It turns out he's 22. I'm kind of going 22, I'm 25. But then I remember my boyfriend dumped me. I don't give a fuck. It's my number and he's like, let's go out to like a pub. Like nothing special. I mean, he's 22. Parents raised him well though. He picked up the bill, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we split like a poutine. Shit I couldn't do on a date now. Heartburn. We're in a cab back to my house and I'm slowly realizing like this guy's super nice, but perhaps dumb as bricks. I don't smoke weed. I've never smoked weed. This guy was like a huge stoner. And I remember in the cab on the way home, he started bringing up like something that was very funny, but like, he's like, I think about this all the time. Like, what if dragons were real? Imagine there was a dragon that lived on top of the CN Tower and like every few years it came back and like sometimes we'd look up and the dragon would be there and sometimes the dragon would be like away and we'd get like news that the dragon was like in Russia. Interesting concept for sure. But I was like, okay, it's time to just shut this boy up with my pussy. Came back to my house, my apartment, and my roommate was there with her boyfriend and they were on the couch watching Saturday Night Live. I dragged this man by. I'm like, no time for hellos. I don't need him telling them about the dragon. Go to my room. Oh, and something worth mentioning was that this guy lived in a different city, which is really annoying. You're trying to kick out someone that doesn't live in your city. But I'll get to that. So anyway, we're in my room and we're about to hook up and he takes his pants off. His panache is underwhelming, but that's okay. I don't actually think size matters unless it's micro, which this was. It was the first and only I've ever seen, but I was like, whatever, you know what? Give it a chance. But then The panache could not get up. This guy's 22, I'm 25. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, I'm a sexy older woman. I should tell you that 25 was my prime too. Hold on, let me pull up a pic. I know, I'm still pretty. Sleep? Whatever. Panache won't come up, and eventually I go, let's call it. Like, you know, this isn't happening. And he goes, no, I can do this. Already it's like, I don't want to hear I can do this. Like, who's this about, dude? Gets out of bed, and then he drops to the ground and starts doing push-ups. Gets out of bed, he drops. I go, where'd he go? This is me. Peeking over the bed. I go, what are you doing? He goes, sometimes it's like a blood flow thing. I go, but now the blood's going to your arm. He goes, you're right. Starts doing jumping jacks. I lived in a walk-up. These floors were old. I'm like, my roommate is going to think that I'm getting the fucking pounding of a lifetime. Meanwhile, I'm ass naked staring at the ceiling while this 22-year-old does jumping jacks next to my bed. After maybe, I'm not kidding, 45 minutes of back and forth trying to do this and exercise. Finally say, you got to go home. He goes, how do I get home? I don't live here. And I go, call someone to pick you up. And he called his brother, and his brother came and picked him up, and I just kicked him the hell out of him. What's crazy is after that, he was texting me and I was putting him on ice because we've met like twice. And he's like, you can just let me know if you're not into this anymore. I'm like, babe, this is meant for you. If I had a night like that, I was doing jumping jacks next to your bed, if you didn't text me back, there is no way in hell I'd be like, what happened?
Now that I'm a dog mother, I'm judging the fuck out of my mother. Because, like, I'm looking back at the way she raised our family dogs, and I'm like, wait, this wasn't normal. But, like, I thought it was normal growing up. Just give you some examples. First things first, my mother insisted we name our dog George after her dead grandpa. Like, we were literally 10 years old, and my mom was like, no, we're gonna name him George after my dead grandpa. I was like, can't we name him Paws or something? She's like, no, it's gonna be George. George was a Bichon Poodle, and looking back, he is the most aggressive motherfucking dog I've ever met in my entire life. George used to sit on our kitchen table. So, like, if I was going to eat, like, George was in my face. George was quite literally right next to me. George loved to growl and attack. I would be sitting there eating my fucking dinner. George is all up in my face. My mom is like, leave the dog alone. Like, you're in his territory. I'm like, this is the kitchen fucking table. George is growling at me to give him some pizza. Like, George is literally growling at me. I'm like, this cannot be normal. That happened every fucking day. My mom and George were also best friends. Like, every day, 3 p.m., they would eat almonds, coffee, and cheese together. Like, George would sit on the table and eat the fucking almonds and the coffee and cheese with my mother. These two were having a charcuterie board at fucking 3 p.m. every single day, and George is like a little dog. Since George was like besties with my mother, if we came and like spoke to my mother while she was on the couch, immediately George would attack us. George would actually attack us. Without fail, my mother would be like, please stop bothering your brother. Like, please stop bothering him. I'm like, I did nothing fucking wrong. I'm coming to ask you about your day, and George is getting mad about that. What the fuck did I do wrong? One of my most vivid memories I have with him is Sissy's communion. He jumped up in the air, caught a bird, and brought it back inside. No, literally talk about fucking traumatizing. Also, I was always so confused why my friends were like terrified to come over. It was because of George. And since whenever somebody would leave my house, we had like stairs that walked down, like literally 3 stairs that went down to the front door and you'd open and leave. George would quite literally run to those 3 stairs, bark at you so aggressively, and try and jump and attack your ankles. So my friends and I would have to like fake conversations and like fake George out so he couldn't see people leaving because everyone was scared that he was going to literally bite the fuck out of them. But once George even saw anybody go towards the front door, he was running, he was biting ankles, and he was attacking whoever the fuck he could. Speaking of literally biting, anytime my sisters and I would be like fist fighting or anything, you would have George at your ankles biting you. Like, there have been so many times that I've been fighting with my sisters, but I have worse scratches on my legs because George was biting the shit out of me as I was fighting my sister. It literally was George's world, and like we were just living in it. He was the favorite child, and my mom made that shit known.
Showing up to a funeral in basketball shorts. I'm so disappointed in my partner of 12 years. Yes, we've been dating for 12 years. No kids, not married, all my choice, and it's all fine-ish. We've been having problems since COVID in 2020, and things just kept getting swept under the rugs. Now, in present day 2024, my dad just passed away. My partner shows up to the funeral 15 minutes before it ends and comes in wearing basketball shorts, looking like Adam fucking Sandler. I was so embarrassed and angry. I told him to wear something nice and even offered to go shopping together last week. I had to buy a dress because everything in my closet is too inappropriate, and it's the last time I will ever see my dad, so I want to be respectful and dress nice. I just wanted him to wear pants and a well-fitted shirt. Doesn't have to be a full-on suit and tie. He said he ran out of time to get ready, so he tried his best to look for clean clothes. I swear, he didn't even bother to shower, even though he said he did. He claims my dad was more of a father figure to him than his own dad ever was. So why couldn't he put more effort into a respectful outfit and show up on time? Literally, everyone else stayed from beginning to end. Some family members even even showed up before us. This is it. I'm completely done and over him. I just want to be left alone now.
Problem solved.
Is there something worse than a red flag? Like, what the fuck is this?